Hi everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Crashmo. In the last part we went through puzzles 111 through 120, and now we are doing 121 through 130, and I already had to do a cut here because I made a very dumb mistake. So this is when I finally got like where I really started truncating the videos and just trying to show the most perfect run. I would literally solve the puzzles and then redo them, just so they would be they would save a little bit of time for whoever might be watching. So yeah, for this puzzle we have another staircase puzzle, because you know Crashmo loves its staircases, and that's all this game is about, is just making staircases. Some are non-Euclidean, some are actually discernible to a human mind. So I think aside from okay, so for this puzzle, because I had to cut at the very beginning, and I had to cut for another one, of course, we're primarily just going to be moving around, oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. We're trying to move around this arrow block. We're going to try to get it to a portion where it's inside the little crevice of the yellow block. Most movement is done with the block where the flag is located. And we're trying to just make sure that we can get it into there, which we have to do sort of some jumping back and forth between different blocks here. While we're also doing that, we have to make sure the red blocks on top of the blue block don't fall down. We're eventually going to need one to fall down, but we're not at that point yet. Primarily, we need a red one to fall onto the yellow one, solely for the sake of giving ourselves a step and a platform for the red door there. Alrighty, so for this next part, I make a huge mistake, which is a very me thing to do. And what we're going to need to do here, since I'm trying to set this up correctly, and I'm being very, very scared about it. Essentially, yeah, all we need to do there is use that little green block to push the yellow and blue one. It puts a yellow. That's going to allow us to have a red one on top of the yellow block. And then I do a little jump there just to show that the door is right there when we do that little shift. The red block that we need on top of the blue one's there to get us to the flag, and that is it for that portion. And you better believe it, third time in a row I'm going to have to do a cut. I said this part, I was going to initially say this isn't too bad, this portion, and it isn't. I think a lot of the cuts I'm doing here are more just for the sake of keeping it as straightforward as possible. Since I do acknowledge what these puzzles need in order to be beaten. Alrighty, so majority of this puzzle here is primarily focused on trying to get this cloud block into the green block, or onto the green block. And what we're trying to do specifically is get the cloud block in the sort of center portion of said green block. Or actually, no, never mind. We're trying to get the T block there. I'm a fool, and I've made this mistake many times. See, this is the thing with readability in this game. Sometimes, even as I'm doing in post, and I've seen the puzzles played out, I'll think it's I'll think of a different puzzle that does require that. But no, for that one, yeah, it's right what you saw right there. Alrighty. Okay, so this is a variant of a much earlier puzzle that we had to deal with. And there's actually a training puzzle that is very similar to this one. And oh my god, this puzzle is really annoying and difficult. It's going to be a 3-layered puzzle where we have to kind of do like a chain reaction here. We're almost always going to be taking blocks and moving them in windows of 2. And it's a pain. This one's just a real pain. I don't really like it. There's just so much, there's so much forward thinking that you need in order to do it well, and it kind of just leads to a somewhat obnoxious puzzle. So for this bit, I'm going to basically say, look at the footage and see how I'm doing it. We essentially needed set up where we have an individual block in every single window, because we need that to be used as a platform in order for us to get to the goal. Once we reach the top portion of the yellow block there, where those 2 blocks are situated right now, we'll be more than able to go up there and beat the puzzle. Goodness. So what I did there essentially was a chain reaction to get to one block on pretty much every single puzzle. from here, our main goal is essentially just getting there. So I tried to sort of set it up in a way where you could easily see what was going on, but unfortunately, yeah, I couldn't. That's why there aren't really a lot of 3-layer puzzles like this in the game, because they can just be very hard to follow. So, yeah. Alright, so we got up to the top here. Once you get the idea of what you're supposed to do there, it's not too long, which is nice. That's what. So like now, for now, when I say a puzzle isn't too bad, I'm mostly just saying that it isn't too long. So yeah. Alrighty, the main goal of this puzzle is that we have all these little individual blocks on the right side of the staircase, and we're trying to just get them to stack on top of each other. That's the basics of this puzzle. We're going to need to use the red block here in order to easily pull along the bottom green and yellow block that is here. And I'll basically let this play out. Okay, sorry for that bit of silence. So for this next portion, we're just trying to slide the blocks along and get ourselves another staircase, because as I've said before, Crashmo is nothing more than staircases, and that is all. Alrighty. So, that's been taken care of, and we'll be moving on to the next stage. Thankfully, yeah, I'm not going to really have any cuts now until pretty much the last puzzle, I believe, or second to last. A lot of these puzzles I find to be at least pretty enjoyable and fun in some way. They're mostly just kind of taking ideas and sort of having you play them. They're sort of hinting you in the right direction and then having you do the puzzle from there. So I make this incredibly stupid decision to not move the puzzle to the left a couple times first. And this is important. This is like one of the only puzzles where you really need to move where the starting position of it is. Primary reason for doing that is that we can somewhat offset the two middle yellow blocks. Because we're going to basically insert them back into the main puzzle, like so. And then we're going to use that 2 yellow block, the horizontal 2 yellow block, as another staircase to get towards the top again. Alrighty, so from here, I do a small mistake and realize I'm a fool. All we need to do is move the blue block over enough. So here's another thing about moving this entire puzzle left. Make sure you don't turn it to left, because you will need to use it at one point to navigate the puzzle, or navigate the next part of the actual puzzle. So I have a little bit of trouble here trying to get in this 1 block portion. I think I realized I didn't need to. Just do a diagonal jump there. And then once we get to this top portion, we're pretty much right at the flag. Let me tell you, the first time I did that puzzle, I actually didn't see that the path was as clear as day once I had it there, and I reset multiple times being confused. So, another neat thing about these last 40 puzzles is they're actually in a different location if you haven't noticed, and I don't think I've pointed it out. For the first 100 puzzles, we're kind of in this green little grassland area, mostly just to denote that we're kind of within the realms of the Crashmo Park or whatever. And for this final puzzle, or for these final 40, you'll see that we're kind of have a blue environment. We have like these windmills that are being used, for the aesthetic of the stage, and that's primarily because we're supposed to be, in a sense, to what you saw at the end of part 10 was us scaling this mountain. It doesn't really feel like you're scaling the mountain because it's not really like you don't really get the sense that you're going up, but I mean, it's not that important. It's not like not really playing this game particularly for its super immersive storytelling. You're playing it because you want to push some blocks and pull some blocks, obviously. Alrighty, so this one's a little bit more, can be a bit more confusing to deal with. primarily just need to push the, we need to get basically both of the yellow blocks onto the green cloud block, and then we're going to sort of set up a staircase from there. This is the non-Euclidean variant, so what I mean by that is it doesn't look like a staircase at all, but trust me, you can get to the top. We also want to make sure that the alignment is this certain way. We want the yellow block that was on the right being on the left portion of the green block, and we want the one on the left being on the right portion. Alright, so here's where I have to set up my elaborate staircase. So from this portion here, what we're going to need to do is move over the yellow L block far enough to the side so that we can get up here and move the other yellow block as well. Finally, from this portion, we pretty much have a way to the top. We just need to move the green block over one while it's still supporting the yellow L block. We get towards the top here, and I think with some good diagonal jumps, we can make it over, and that's it for that puzzle. Alrighty, so for the next portion, for the next puzzle, the second to last one, I will have another cut here. This one I just make a couple of mistakes on. You're making another staircase as always, and you just essentially need to drop the right blocks in the right positioning. So essentially you kind of have 1 block, 2 block, 3, 4, 5, etc. Yeah, I don't really want. Normally, in most cases, I just don't really mind these puzzles. They're pretty fun. They're pretty basic, but challenging enough to where I find them enjoyable. You know, this is like the fun kind of difficult brain teaser. Alright. So from here, one of our major goals is that we're trying to get it where we get that red block to fall down, because we're going to need that as a step to get through this overall through this huge staircase. So we need to use the backstage in order to manage that, and we want the yellow L block to show up, or whatever, backwards L block to be basically back where it started. Excuse me, sorry. So from here, you might notice, oh, we have a 2 block, we have a 3 block, a 1 block, and we have like a 6 block. So how the heck are we going to get to the top? Well, don't you worry from there. What we're going to do is we're going to need to make a 5 block, and we already kind of have a 4 block if you notice the lower lip of the blue puzzle here, of the blue part of the puzzle. So from this point onward, essentially we had to do that portion there where we move the 4 high yellow block to get to the red block, jump over to the blue block, and boom, we're at the end. Honestly, narrating these can just seem like I'm saying block 8,000 times, so yeah. If you find that annoying, just mute the video and just watch me do the thing, because I assure you that has a lot of more clarity to it. Alrighty, so this puzzle is not too bad. It's pretty straightforward and self-evident what you need to do. Just essentially get a red door onto the bottom portion of the cloud, or just to an accessible area where you can just to some kind of accessible area for you. And we also need to get a platform for the red door that's going to stay on top of one of those green or yellow blocks in order to properly get to the end. So yeah, like I said, this one's fairly straightforward. Not too bad. Once you get up here, don't be afraid to jump back down and sort of use the manhole covers in multiple ways. It just leads to it being a little bit easier. And I do recommend having all the blocks show up on the yellow side. I think that's what they pretty much intend, since it does get a little bit confusing if you don't do that. Alright, so with all that out of the way, I will see you all in the next part for the final 10 puzzles of the game. See you then.